So let's jump right in. How can a bunch of lines on a map and some data points actually shape the destiny of an entire nation? Well, today we're going to explore just that, how geospatial technology is set to completely transform the future of Nepal, from its highest mountain peaks right down to its busiest city streets.
Now, this isn't just some sci-fi fantasy. It's a real vision for a Nepal that's smarter, safer, and way more prosperous. And it's all made possible by understanding the power of where. But this vision wasn't just dreamt up in a lab. It was actually forged in the aftermath of a massive catastrophe.
Yeah, the 2015 Gorkha earthquake, it was a profound, tragic wake-up call. I mean, it shook the nation to its very core. And what it revealed with just brutal clarity was that for a country like Nepal, having accurate, accessible maps, that's not a luxury. It's an absolute lifeline. That event right there became the critical turning point.
You see, that disaster basically forced a national conversation. It pushed technology and data right to the front of the line. It showed everybody that if Nepal was going to rebuild and protect itself for the future, it needed a whole new set of tools. And at the heart of this new approach is a technology called GIS, which stands for Geographic Information Systems. The easiest way to think about it is, well, it's like a super-powered smart map. It lets you take all these different layers of information, like, say, where people live, where flood zones are, or where the roads are, and it puts them all together in one place. Suddenly, you can see patterns and connections you would have totally missed otherwise.
Right, that's the big question, isn't it? It's one thing to talk about cool smart maps, but what does that actually mean on the ground? For everyday life, for tackling the country's biggest challenges? Well, let's take a look. The best way to picture it is to think of GIS as Nepal's new digital toolbox. It's not just one single thing, but a whole collection of tools and applications that can be used to fix some of the nation's most difficult problems. So, let's open it up and see what's inside. Okay, first and foremost, disaster management. This is huge. In a country with geography like Nepal's, this is literally a life-saving tool. By mapping out landslide-prone areas in the hills or modeling where floods are likely to happen, authorities can finally shift from just reacting to disasters to being proactive, planning evacuation routes, and getting aid in place before it's too late.
And this proactive planning, it isn't just for natural disasters. It's absolutely crucial for managing city growth, too. Just think about Kathmandu, a city that's expanding at an incredible speed. With GIS, planners can see exactly where that growth is happening, which means they can get ahead of problems like traffic jams by designing better roads or smarter public transit.
All right, let's talk about the backbone of Nepal's economy, agriculture. For farmers, this technology is a total game changer. Using data from satellites, they can literally monitor the health of their crops in almost real time. They can analyze the soil to use fertilizer more efficiently, and even get early warnings about droughts. This could seriously boost food security for the entire nation.
And beyond the farms, it's also an incredibly powerful tool for protecting Nepal's amazing natural treasures. We're talking about tracking deforestation, protecting vital habitats for wildlife in iconic places like Chitwan National Park, and making sure precious water resources are managed in a way that lasts for generations to come.
And when it comes to actually building the future of the country, roads, hydropower plants, things like that, GIS is essential. It helps engineers find the absolute best, safest, and most cost-effective spots for these huge projects, making sure that development is both smart and environmentally responsible.
And finally, tourism. For a country that relies so much on its visitors, GIS can make their experience so much better. I mean, imagine super detailed digital maps for trekkers on their way to Everest, or better safety systems for remote areas. You could even use it to help promote some of those hidden gems and spread the economic benefits of tourism out a little more. Okay, so we've seen all this incredible potential. The toolbox is packed with amazing things, but, having a toolbox and actually knowing how to use it, those are two very different things. The real challenge is turning all this potential into a real nationwide strategy. So, what's the plan?
And that brings us right here to the government's official action plan. You can think of this as the blueprint, the master plan, designed to weave GIS into the very fabric of how the country is run. As you can see, the plan is a pretty clear 6-step roadmap. It all starts with policy, getting a strong legal framework in place so everyone is playing by the same rules. Next up is creating a central data hub, the NSDI, so there's one single source of truth for all this information. Then it's all about people and tools, training staff and students, and using the latest tech. And finally, it comes down to teamwork, partnering with tech companies and NGOs, and most importantly, getting this data into the hands of local governments where it can make the biggest difference.
And really, if you boil it all down, there are two things that are absolutely non-negotiable for this whole thing to work. First, that single unified database, the National Spatial Data Infrastructure, or NSDI, so everyone is working from the same map, literally. And second, investing in people, training them to use modern tools like mapping drones, and eventually things like predictive AI to really unlock this data's power.
So, with the tools in hand and a plan on the table, what does the future actually look like? What could Nepal become in the next, say, 10 or 20 years if this vision really comes to life?
Well, this timeline gives us a little glimpse into that future. By 2030, we could see actual smart city projects making life better in Kathmandu and Pokhara. Fast forward 5 years, and real-time climate monitoring could be actively protecting the Himalayas. By 2040, all this data leads to a new standard of digital, transparent government, and by 2045, it all comes together to create a whole new industry of high-tech jobs for the next generation of Nepalis.
Ultimately, it really all comes down to this. The goal is for GIS to become the fundamental backbone of decision-making at every single level, from a government minister planning a new national highway to a local mayor deciding where to build a new school. The map, the data, will guide the way. So really, the question isn't if this technology can change Nepal, but how quickly its people and its leaders can embrace it.